Welcome to Textile Tuesdays. I'm Angelene Ronique, and today we are in the world of music. Okay, anybody that knows me knows I love music. I adore music. It is my heartbeat. Okay, and as designers, I'm a fashion designer, and I know designers, you can feel me out there. We need music. We need it for our runway shows. We need it to convey our themes and our collections. And I even need it in my design studio. I don't know about you guys, but I cannot create without a soundtrack. So today we are in the world of music, and we have a special guest with us, musical genius, Natalie J Grey.
Hello. Okay? Who is Natalie Gray? I'm an inspirer. I mean, yes, I sing, I play the piano, I write music, I produce, I teach workshops around the world and all sorts of things. But ultimately, I just want to inspire people. And that's pretty much who I am.
I'm a designer, right? And, we know that we use textures in our industry. We use textures to convey the theme. We use textures to convey the collection. But I know that other industries use textures to do the same. And I wanted to sit down with a music professional who knows the industry to really convey what they do to convey texture, how they convey texture, and why they convey texture. So let's get into the interview, okay? My first question for you is, what made you choose the art form of music?
I think music chose me. I've never done anything else in my entire life but music. I hummed when I was a baby before I could talk. I've been in music, singing and in church and classical piano and everything since I was 6. And this is just what I've ever done. And I just looked up and now I'm 35 and that's all I do.
I think sometimes industries do choose you. I think sometimes we think we want to do something, but then we look up and we've already been chosen for a particular industry. So go ahead.
And I was going to say too, and it was a decision because I always tell people growing up, especially in Louisville, Kentucky, that wasn't something that we saw. You didn't see yourself, doing music. That wasn't a profession. Right. And so for me, it was like, wow, here it is. I'm doing something that's completely outside of what people are expecting us to do, right? So that wasn't something that you just looked up and chose.
Right.
And so for me, it was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. Even in my high school, like, what do you want to be? What's your aspiration? I'm like, I want to be a singer. I want to be this. And so it was just important for me to just kind of pursue that and keep it going.
Well, there it is. I think it's a great segue for my next question. So my next question for you is, what inspires you as a music artist? What inspires you? What moves you? What gets you going as a music artist?
Well, first of all, in order to exhale, right? So in essence, that's what we do. We inhale, we take in life, we take in our life experiences, we take in all these different things, and then we exhale it into the art form. So for me, I'm always looking for every opportunity, whether it be my own personal experience or, wanting to love or wanting to worship or wanting to dance. And I take all those things, all those experiences, and then I just let it out into the music, right? So that's what's big for me. I literally take time to just inhale life, and then I'm like, write a song or inhale and then perform. So that's how I see it.
The reason why I want to ask these questions, and I say this over and over again, is that I don't like the narrative that people think that artists are dumb.
Oh my God.
That we don't think that we're not intellectuals. I mean, I say this all the time. But I wanted to get in the mind of the artist because a lot of people think our industries are easy to do.
Oh my goodness.
They think I sit around with colored pencils all day. They think you sit around doodling and singing all day. Yeah. They think people in dance sit around doing moves all day. People in hair, the hair industry, they just sit and bump hair. It's like, this is an art form. We went to school for this.
Yeah.
We've studied studied for this.
And it's disrespectful to not do so.
You see what I'm saying?
Because a lot of our decisions are very well thought out.
Right.
I tell people that whatever you fundamentally do as an artist, you're fundamentally an artist.
Right.
However, you have to get some sort of education. You don't have to go to Howard, or you don't have to do certain things, but you do have to get the tools.
Right.
So I tell people the technique and the theory and all those things are only tools to help you express yourself. You'll even see what we did earlier when we did Titanium, for instance. For that particular song, as I was explaining to them, I was like, the song, when I'll say, when we did Titanium, you'll see that the song sits more in major, right? It actually does. And it toggles kind of in the minor, right? But it sits in the major. And I explained to them that I wanted it to kind of go more towards the minor. How did I know that? I had to know that. I could feel it, yeah, but I had to know it.
Right.
Right? Or even the chords that I call out to Dwight or somebody. I'm like, ooh, no, we're going to do this 5 or this 6. That's going to have a completely different texture. It's going to have a completely different story. Or if we land on that 4, it's going to say something differently, right? But you don't know that, right? Because maybe you didn't go to school or something. So you have to have the tools to help you to do that. So every song that I do, every song that I write, every song that I perform, I'm always thinking about every ingredient that's needed for that story and how to draw that out.
Right, and it's very important because even in my industry, I'm a fashion designer, so even in my industry, I will never forget when someone was shocked that I had math classes. They was like, you do math? I'm like, hello, if I don't do my math properly, the tailoring will be off, the pattern will be off. This is very specific tailoring, design, pattern making, like it's very intricate. And I just wanted to show that, to allow people to know that our industries of art and how we convey and express is not just a creative happenstance.
It's very well thought out.
It's very well thought out. We have to use a lot of intellect to really convey these things. And I wanted to give a different narrative to the artists that exist, whether it's a dancer, whether it's someone who's in the hair industry, or whether it's a fashion designer, or whether it's someone in music. Just really conveying the story that we are more than just creativity. Like, we are smart individuals.
Well, you have to be in order to be creative.
You have to be. And a lot of these industries, we don't get enough credit because people think that it's just like, anybody can do that. It's like, no, you really have to think about this thing. So, I'm glad that you're opening up to the audience to allow them to know that it's a little more than just a it's a little more than a it takes a little more than just a note every now and then. So there's minors, there's majors, there's chords, there's
so
key signatures.
much.
It's a lot that goes into music.
I am a lifetime learner of music. I don't think I'll ever get to the place where I'm like, I know it all.
Right.
And I think that's where the humility comes in. You can be confident in what you do, but there's a humility because I'm aware that there's so much to learn. I'm always learning about a different genre. I'm always learning about myself. And it's so much, just the probability. Like, do I want this key? No, I want this key. Do I want this chord? Do I want this? It's so much to it. And I have fun with it, just sorting it out.
I love that. So here's my next question for you.
All right.
Why do you think it's important to create texture in music?
It's all for the story. It's all for the story. And it's very important that people understand the story. So first of all, as it relates just to the voice, I always tell people that it's fundamentally what you're made of and what you're made of, right? And when I say what you're made of, literally your voice, right? So you'll find people that have a heavier vocal weight, right? That's what their tone naturally does, right? Or someone has a thinner vocal kind of voice. That's the textures that they do. That's their tone, right? Or sometimes, all these different like technical things and what your voice does. Then it's what you're made of. Your actual experience kind of shows you that texture that you kind of go to, right? And then you go to style. So for instance, with style, I tell people that every vocalist, for instance, is a part of the band. I hate when people say, "Are you a real musician?" I'm like, what does that mean?
What is a real musician?
Yeah. And then they're like, "Oh, you play the piano. Oh, so you're real." I'm no. And so what I mean by that is I always tell people that as an artist, you are, as a vocalist, especially, you're part of the band. So if you're an opera, it's going to be, ooh, It has to be that because we have string there's it has to be that, right? But if you hear people that are going to be a little bit more jazzy, we may be right here because it needs to be right here. Oh, 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 that's what it needs to be. I'm making something right here. I'm having fun, so let me get back to it. I'll start making a song.
No, like let's keep the groove going.
I'll get on the beat. Because I am singing right here. Right? So sometimes like you have to be a little bit breathier, right? When you sing in gospel, what do you think about? B3 organs.
Right.
That's the no, you think about other instruments. We're like, oh, let's turn this up. We're thinking about, but you have to have that sound.
Right.
This is what we want.
Right.
That's where we are. That's where we are, because that's the type of sound.
Oh, yes.
That's what it has to be. And then when you sing rock and roll, depending on the type of rock and roll, it has to have a certain type of tone. So you'll find like a rocker, you'll sing happy birthday to you. You'll be like, yeah, rockers sing that, because that's what they hear. They think about those type of sounds, right? And so it's all about the style of the song, right? And the style of the genre. Those things come into play, right? So even if I'm writing a song, I'm like, do I need guitar? Do I need, this type of drum? Do I need saxophone? Do I need just the piano? What do I need to tell the story? Because it's all about going to my next point, the story. So what you're made of, the style, of course. But now it all comes back to the story.
Right.
Because if the story is, as we did with titanium, I am titanium, that's intimate. Pull more intimate. My voice.
I feel that, yeah.
That's a different type of a tone, right? But if I need to belt it, what is it saying? And I think as artists, sometimes we're insecure because we're around people who want to sound like everybody else. And you can't. It's not about you. Everyone's literally different. If you go to guitar, they have Guitar Center, they have hundreds of guitars. Why? Because they're all different. Right? But because we live in a world, right? We live in a world where everybody wants to sound alike. Why? Because we want to be accepted. So the first part about being an artist of any sort of profession, fashion, dance, photography, is about getting comfortable with me. That's the first part about being an artist.
That's true. That's true, because if you don't, especially in my industry, if you don't find your voice as a designer, you are going to blend in with everybody. And so I even had to find, what is my lane? What makes Angelene different to the industry? What makes me unique? And if you don't find that, you really will get lost, especially in the sea of artists. There's so many creative people, especially where we live in LA. Like, everybody's good. Everybody looks good. Everybody's talented. So if you don't find your vein, it's over. It's over, because everybody's the best. And so you have to really find who you are so that you can convey that. So I think it's a really great point. So here's my last question. What is your advice to the next generation? The next generation of musicians, vocalists, instrumentalists, people in the music industry. What is your advice to them? Look in the camera. Okay. And tell them, what is your advice?
Okay. Let me go. A couple things I got for you guys. Okay. Get comfortable with you. That's step one. Right? And you have to really, really be you. Find out what you like to do. Don't worry about what the next person's doing. Don't look to anybody else. And that's what we just talked about. Don't look to anybody else. Figure out who you are. Don't let anybody define you to the genre that you're supposed to do. Don't let somebody tell you, oh, you're this race, or you're this person, or you're a male. You do, and you find out who you are, okay? Get inspired. That's super important. Get your education, right? Make sure that you know what's going on. Get that theory in there. Get that technique. Develop as much as possible. Listen to as much music as possible. But it's really important. Step one is be you. Don't let anybody define you. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it. I don't care if it's family. I don't care if it's outside influences. I don't care where you live. You're a little person in Louisville, Kentucky, the way I was, you can do it. If you're in LA, you can do it. I don't care if you're in Alaska, you can do it. Just keep your eyes focused. Make sure your spirituality is there, and everything will come where you need to come.
I mean, I think that's a great way to end the show. That was great advice to the next generation. I hope you guys heard that.
Yeah.
I hope you guys heard that. Yeah, I hope you guys heard that. That was a great way to end the show. Thank you guys for tuning in to Text Out Tuesdays. I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in. Thank you, Natalie, for bringing your genius onto the show.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it, and I know the audience will be blessed from what they see.
They
so
are.
we'll see you guys next season.
Thank you.
Boom.
Thank you so much. All right.